Okay, back again on the Rich Van Tassel channel, breaking down yesterday's games from Week 5 in the NFL season. We're starting off with the Chicago Bears. They defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 18-17. A lot of questions with Kansas City. I don't think Chicago's that good of a team, and I was expecting a lot more from the Chiefs coming into this season. The stats for Chicago, who's the road team yesterday: Jay Cutler, 26 of 45, 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, and their turnovers. So that's one of his best games in a while. Matt Forte was solid, 18 carries, 71 yards. Altogether, the Bears were 26 carries for 87 yards. Receiving wise, Marcus Wilson was 6 receptions for 85 yards and a touchdown. Matt Forte also had 5 receptions for 38 yards and a touchdown out of the backfield. Jay Cutler did lose a fumble. He fumbled twice and lost one of them, so there were his turnovers. I should have known better that he wasn't getting out of the game without turnover. Chicago had 3 sacks, did not have any interceptions. For Kansas City, Alex Smith, 16 of 30, 181 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception. Jamal Charles, 12 carries for 58 yards, 4.8 yards per carry. I believe Jamal Charles tore his ACL. Those were the reports today. It may have been someone else. Again, I was glancing over it. Alex Smith, 3 rushing for 21 yards. Receiving wise, Jeremy Maclin continues to produce this year, 8 receptions, 85 yards. Travis Kelce was held in check. He's been one of Alex Smith's most favorite targets this year. Only 3 receptions for 35 yards. Kansas City did obviously recover the fumble. Only 2 sacks, and they did not intercept the ball. So Chicago is now 2-3. You got to give them a little credit for responding after that 0-3 start. Kansas City drops to 1-4. Really a down year for them. I was expecting a lot more. I was expecting a lot more from every team in that division. So where they go from here remains to be seen. Do they make a quarterback change? I don't think that's going to solve anything. Frankly, I just don't know. I believe there's way too much talent on this Kansas City team for them to be 1-4. But there you are what you are, so there they are now. Seattle went to Cincinnati and lost in overtime. Seattle gave up a big lead in this game, so they dropped to 2-3. Kansas City is now 5-0. Starting with the Seahawks, Russell Wilson was 15 of 23 for 213 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Thomas Rawls had an enormous game running the ball with 23 carries, 169 yards, 7.3 yards per pop, and a touchdown. Russell Wilson 3 for 21 out of the backfield, altogether 30 carries for 200 yards for the Seahawks. That's 6.7 yards per carry, so very impressive. Receiving, Doug Baldwin was explosive, 3 receptions for 70 yards. I didn't see him really making any catches when they needed. Jermaine Kearse was the second best receiver, 2 for 38. Jimmy Graham, Kearse had a touchdown. Jimmy Graham was held in check, only 3 catches for 30 yards. 1 fumble recovery for the team. They did have 4 sacks. And they had no interception. Earl Thomas did have an interception. Yeah. For Cincinnati, Andy Dalton, very impressive, 30 of 44, 331 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Giovanni Bernard, 15 carries for 80 yards. That's 5.3 yards per carry, very good. Tyler Eifert, the tight end, 8 receptions for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. A.J. Green went at it with Richard Sherman. Basically what you'd expect, 6 receptions for 78 yards. I didn't see Sherman on him, though, every single play, and I'm a little surprised, and I think that's I don't know if Seattle was doing it as gamesmanship, but frankly, that's disrespectful to A.J. Green. A.J. Green deserves the top corner coverage every time he's on the field. It's as simple as that. You don't disrespect A.J. Green that way. So I don't know if that was gamesmanship. I don't know if it just so happened that occasionally he was able to get lined up away from Richard Sherman, but A.J. Green deserves to be covered by the team's best cornerback always. So we'll see what the cause was for that. Rex Burkhead did lose a fumble. Cincinnati had 4 sacks, which was key. That vaunted defensive line we talked about. Adam Jones had an interception, and that was all in the turnover department. So Seattle, they won 2 and lost 1. They'll continue to improve the rest of this year. I think they're just too good not to. Cincinnati now 5-0. Again, I was wrong about them coming into the year. I thought this would be the year they slipped back after having all the success they've had, regular season success that is. but clearly not. There's still talent on this team, so obviously it looks like Cincinnati's going to have to prove themselves in the playoffs yet again. And we'll see how that goes. Washington Redskins went to Atlanta and lost to the now 5-0 Atlanta Falcons. Washington drops to 2-3 statistics for the Redskins. Kirk Cousins 21 of 32, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 219 yards. Matt Jones coming back to earth big time. I think there's a crater in the ground with how hard he's crashing back to earth after that impressive game. He was 11 carries for 20 yards, 1.8 yards per carry. Altogether, 24 carries for 51 yards for the Redskins. That's 2.1 yards per carry, 1 touchdown, but not going to get the job done. Receiving wise, Jamison Crowder, 8 receptions, 87 yards. Pierre Garcon, 3 for 51. Not really too good, but you'd expect that when you saw Kirk Cousins' numbers that the receivers weren't having that great of a game. They did not lose a fumble. They did recover a fumble. 3 sacks, and they picked off Matt Ryan twice. So probably a game the Redskins should have won when you think about it, because they really had Atlanta where they wanted them. We're going to go over Atlanta's stats now. Matt Ryan, 24 for 42, 254 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Devontae Freeman continues to impress, the rookie running back. You got to start considering him for Offensive Rookie of the Year. 27 carries, 153 yards. That's 5.7 yards per carry and 1 touchdown. Jacob Tamme was their leading receiver, 8 for 94. Julio Jones only 5 for 67. Atlanta lost a fumble, Matt Ryan, so Matt Ryan was turning the ball over a lot. They only had 1 sack, but obviously picked off Kirk Cousins twice. Robert Alford had both of them in the return for the touchdown in overtime that won the game. Atlanta's 5-0. 5-0 is 5-0. We talked about it. I thought this would be a game that the Redskins could get, but they didn't. They were playing very competitively. You kept Julio Jones in check, and Matt Ryan didn't have a good game. These are games you've got to win if you're the Washington Redskins. They did not, so they'll pick up the pieces and move forward from there. Atlanta cruising at 5-0. Tampa Bay Buccaneers won at home over the Jacksonville Jaguars, 38-31. I picked the Jaguars in this game. Obviously, they're not quite as far along as I thought they would be. I don't know where either of these teams are scoring that many points from, but barn burner, 38-31. I hope you had the over, because I'm almost certain. I don't even need to look and know it came in for this game. Blake Bortles, 23 of 33, 303 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. So he was solid. When you score 31 points, that's the way it's going to be. TJ Yeldon, 11 for 32, so he probably had his worst game as a pro. Yesterday, certainly statistically he did. Altogether, 17 rushes for 55 yards, 3.2 yards per carry. Not good enough. Allen Hurns continues to impress. 5 receptions, 116 yards, and 1 touchdown. Allen Robinson, 7 for 72, 2 touchdowns. And Brian Walters, 4 receptions for 64 yards. When you see Blake Bortles' numbers, obviously the receivers are going to have good days, which they did. Jacksonville lost a fumble. Only had 2 sacks and no interception. So, Jameis Winston, obviously, he did not turn the ball over, which is key to his improvement. 13 for 19, 209 yards, 1 touchdown, no interception. Doug Martin coming back to form, 24 carries, 153 yards. That's over 5 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. Altogether, 40 runs for 183 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 4.6 yards per carry for the Buccaneers, so very good in that department. Charles Sims was the top receiver, 4 for 85. Mike Evans, quite pedestrian, 3 for 41. They did recover the fumble, obviously. Had 6 sacks, so that's big. That's always going to help you win. And they had the 1 interception of Blake Bortles. So Tampa Bay got the win. Jacksonville, obviously, is not as far along as I thought. They're playing better, but it's more of a matter now of you've got to learn to win these games. They were down early in this game, though. I believe it was a 14-point game, and they got a late touchdown. So Tampa Bay will move forward. Jameis Winston, you'd like to see him produce a little more as far as yards and attempts, but not turning the ball over is going to be the key to his success. So they'll take it from there and move on. But you'll hope to see that as long as he stops turning the ball over, he can continue to grow in other aspects of the game. Boy, was I wrong about this one. The Eagles pounded the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans, I mean, Dallas has really got to be looking how they lost in this game, but New Orleans is just not good. Drew Brees, 26 of 43, 355 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Mark Ingram, 12 rushes for 57 yards. It's almost 5 yards per carry, so they were down though. They had to abandon the run. Altogether, 21 carries, 96 yards, 4.6 yards per carry. Willie Snead, 6 receptions for 141 yards. Brandon Cooks, 5 for 107. I'm wondering how many of those yards came when the game was not maybe quite as out of hand as it eventually came to, but you're getting those late passing yards that looks like that's where most of these numbers probably came from. Drew Brees fumbled twice, lost both of them, and Michael Umanawananui, if that's how you say it, also lost a fumble, so 3 turnovers there. It's going to kill you every time. They did not have a sack. Brandon Browner and Delvin Breaux both had interceptions. For Philadelphia, Sam Bradford, 32 for 45, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. His best game as an Eagle. DeMarco Murray, 20 for 83, 20 carries, 83 yards. That's 4.2 yards per carry. He's looking to get back into form. Ryan Matthews, 8 carries, 73 yards. Murray had a touchdown as well as Ryan Matthews. Altogether, 34 rushes for 186 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns, so very impressive there. Josh Huff was the top receiver, 4 for 78 yards and a touchdown. A lot of guys got in the action in the passing game. 9 total receivers caught passes. 7 of them caught multiple passes, and 3 of them caught over 5. So Sam Bradford was really distributing the ball. We'll see if that's going to turn the Eagles' offense around. Recovered the 3 fumbles, had 5 sacks, and the interception. So Philly's 2-3. Got to figure things out. See if this will get their offense rolling. Chip Kelly's offense. New Orleans, where they go from here. Now 1-4, and they're just not looking good at all. And the way Dallas lost yesterday, the Cowboys really aren't that good of a team with all the injuries they have. So New Orleans' 1 win isn't even that impressive to begin with. Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. Cleveland went into Baltimore, won this game, first time since 2006, I believe it was. And I want to make a side note on this game. I'm happy that the Cleveland Browns won. I did pick the Baltimore Ravens, but there was a play late in the game. Baltimore on 3rd down threw a pass. The guy dropped it. The corner, it might have been a safety. I can't remember the guy's name. For Cleveland, hit the receiver. Looked like a clean hit. Led with the shoulder, hit him right in the shoulder pad. They called a 15-yard penalty. Baltimore went down the field and tied the game, and then it went to overtime. Just a terrible call. It's you can't give a team a 1st down in that situation, especially a team like Cleveland that's fighting for every win, every positive they can get this year. You're gonna take it away from them by doing that. I thought it was a terrible call, so I'm happy to see that Cleveland won this game. And we'll get into the stats. Josh McCown was throwing the ball all over the lot. 36 for 51, 457 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interception. Isaiah Crowell was the top runner, 13 for 49. Altogether, they ran the ball 25 times for 83 yards. Now, that's only 3.3 yards per carry. But to run the ball 25 times when you throw the ball that much is pretty impressive. Gary Barnidge was the top receiver, 8 for 139, 1 touchdown. Travis Benjamin, 6 for 83, no touchdowns. Taylor Gabriel, 4 for 75. Duke Johnson Jr., 6 for 55, and Andrew Hawkins, 7 for 49. Isaiah Crowell, 2 for 38 and a touchdown. So with those inflated numbers, you'd have to expect that the receivers would have a big day. Did not fumble, so no turnovers at all. And only sacked once, so they played a clean game. They had no takeaways, so didn't have any takeaways, but did not have any turnovers, so that was key. Baltimore, Joe Flacco, really not good. 19 to 35, 210 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Justin Forsett continues to play very well. 21 carries, 121 yards, and a touchdown. Kamir Aiken was the top receiver, 4 for 78. Justin Forsett, 4 for 49 out of the backfield. Steve Smith Jr. was not a factor. 4 sacks, which is pretty solid, but when you throw the ball 51 times on the other side, you're going to have that chance. And no fumbles for them. So Baltimore drops to 1-4. You're going to have to see where they go from here. Very surprising that they're having as poor of a year as they're having. A lot of teams Super Bowl picks. So, you know, while my picks may not look great, I didn't pick the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. So you can give me a little credit there, I suppose. I picked the St. Louis Rams to beat the Green Bay Packers. I was mistaken in this one. It was more of a some way somehow thing. Just didn't like Green Bay winning that game and moving to 5-0. I figured there were losses, and I figured this would be one of them. We said in the game preview that St. Louis wins games they shouldn't and loses games they shouldn't just the same. But they lost this game and they should have lost this game. Nick Foles, terrible. 11 for 30, 141, 1 touchdown, 4 interceptions. Yikes. Todd Gurley continues to impress. Now he's getting healthier and healthier. 30 for 159, 5.3 yards per carry. Overall, 36 for 191 and 5.3 yards per carry for the Rams. Stedman Bailey was the top receiver, 3 for 73, no touchdowns. Nick Foles also fumbled the ball. He did not lose it though. St. Louis did recover a fumble. 2 sacks, 2 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, 19 of 30, so not even one of his great games, and he was still very good. 241 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's their top rusher with 8 carries for 39 yards. Overall, 27 carries for 86 yards. For the Packers, it's 3.2 yards per carry. James Jones had 2 explosive plays, 2 receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown. Ty Montgomery, 4 receptions for 59 yards and a touchdown. Aaron Rodgers lost a fumble, so he turned the ball over 3 times yesterday. For St. Louis to lose by 14 and only score 10 points in a game where they got 3 takeaways is pretty shocking. Had 3 sacks, Green Bay that is, and the 4 interceptions. Obviously, Quentin Rollins had 2 of them. Green Bay now 5-0. St. Louis, the inconsistency continues, and they'll have to really sort that out. That division is certainly not out of reach, but it is if you can't play consistently. Buffalo Bills got back on the winning track, going to Tennessee and winning the game. They won by a point. Tennessee has really got to be kicking themselves, especially in that division, which is as up for grabs as any other. Tyrod Taylor was not very good. 10 for 17, 109 yards. Did have a touchdown, didn't turn the ball over, so that's good, especially after that week before against the Giants. He was their top rusher, 8 for 76, 9.5 yards per carry and a touchdown. Overall, 28 carries, 127 yards, 4.5 yards per carry. Chris Hogan was the top receiver. He also threw a pass in this game, 3 for 52 and 1 touchdown. Denarius Moore lost the fumble, and they did not. They had 2 fumbles, lost one of them, did not recover any. 2 sacks of Marcus Mariota, and Stephon Gilmore had an interception. We've told you to keep your eye on Stephon Gilmore this year. Marcus Mariota, 21 of 32, 187, no touchdowns and an interception. He did run the ball 5 times for 47 yards, 28 for 97 total, 3.5 yards per carry for the entire team, and a touchdown. Antonio Andrews had the touchdown. He was their top receiver, 3 for 45. So sloppy offensive game on both sides, so you expect these low numbers. Steven Johnson did recover a fumble. 4 sacks, no interceptions. Buffalo's 3-2, trying to stay afloat in that division, trying to stay competitive with the Jets and the Patriots. Tennessee, young team, young quarterback, got to continue to learn how to win and improve and get better from there. Another game, I expected the Lions to not be 0-5. They, of course, now are. They got trounced by the Arizona Cardinals. Now, Arizona was looking to come out after losing that game last week against St. Louis, where they did not play well. We discussed that. I knew that that was a cause for concern when I was picking Detroit, but again, I just didn't see Detroit going 0-5. But that's what happened. Arizona clearly just lashed out for that tough outing. They're now 4-1. Carson Palmer 11 of 14 for 161 and 3 touchdowns. Chris Johnson again coming back strong. The reports of his demise were obviously over exaggerated. 11 carries, 103 yards, 9.4 yards per carry. So he's really giving that team a solid running back, which they need. That's what they were hoping when they got that veteran. Andre Ellington 3 for 63 and a touchdown. Receiving, John Brown 4 for 73 and a touchdown. Larry Fitzgerald 5 for 58 and a touchdown. Darren Fells 2 for 25 and a touchdown. They recovered 2 fumbles, only had 1 sack, and 4 interceptions. Matt Stafford did get benched in this game. I'm guessing that was part of the reason why. The passing, Dan Orlovsky was 21 of 38 in relief, 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Matthew Stafford 20 of 32, 188, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. So the numbers outside of the interceptions are very much similar, but the interceptions are what kills you in this league. Detroit, just a terrible year this year. I was not expecting the Lions to be this bad. They were a playoff team last year. Actually, a very good team last season. Rushing, Zach Zenner 10 for 30. Overall, the team had 18 carries for 57 yards, only 3.2 yards per carry. Golden Tate was the top receiver, 8 receptions for 74 yards. Calvin Johnson, Patrick Peterson was obviously holding them in check, 5 receptions for 67 yards. They lost the 2 fumbles, only had 2 sacks, and did not have any takeaway. So Detroit's 0-5. You got to feel for the Lions fans. After a good year last year, this is what they come back with. I thought, they had some tough luck losses. That was not the case yesterday. They just got hammered. And Arizona now 4-1, so they're really cruising in that division. The New England Patriots moved to 5-0, or excuse me, 4-0. They were off the bye as they beat the Dallas Cowboys 30-6. Cowboys really, really struggling offensively. We'll get into them in just a moment. New England, Tom Brady 20 of 27, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. LeGarrette Blount 13 carries for 74 yards, 5.7 yards per carry. Dion Lewis 6 carries for 34 yards, that's 5.7. Overall 23 for 109, 4.7. And 1 touchdown, but that touchdown was a quarterback sneak for Tom Brady, who only had 3 yards on 2 carries. Receiving, Julian Edelman 4 for 120. Rob Gronkowski, we discussed. Byron Jones was marking him up. Thought Byron Jones played pretty well. I thought there was one big completion where Gronkowski pushed off, but the rookie can't really expect that call. He was held in check for 4 for 67. Tom Brady fumbled the ball but did not lose it. They had 3 sacks, and Logan Ryan had an interception. That was a garbage time interception. Dallas was in pass mode. The stats for Dallas: 26 of 39, 188 yards, and an interception for Brandon Weeden. Joseph Randle, 15 carries for 60 yards. Altogether, 24 of 100. Darren McFadden was the top receiver, 9 for 62. Just a lot of checkdowns because the receivers cannot get open. Terrence Williams was 2 for 30. He's just not getting the job done. They really have no depth at the wide receiver position. Dallas did have 5 sacks, did not have any interceptions or fumble recoveries. They're not getting takeaways, which is something they need to do with the injuries they have. Now Dallas goes into the bye. For the Cowboys, they would be hopeful that Dez Bryant can come back out of the bye. They have a Giants. For as bad as it's going right now, they can salvage their season if they come out of the bye and beat the Giants. We'll see if Matt Castle gets the start in that game. Again, Brandon Weeden, you have to make the switch at this point because Matt Castle is just, Brandon Weeden, it's just not clicking with him. I don't think it's all his fault. I'd like to see what Matt Castle can do if these receivers can't get open. But this is the reason why I had Dez Bryant as my MVP contender and not Tony Romo. It just shows right here. I'm not saying that the receiver is more valuable than the quarterback. I'm not saying that Tony Romo can't play. What I'm saying is with this offense, the other parts, the Jason Wittens, the Cole Beasleys, the Terrence Williams, the Lance Dunbar, who's now out for the season, were coming out in the backfield. They rely on Dez Bryant drawing double coverages and freeing things up for them. Terrence Williams, it looks like garbage right now. He cannot get open to save his life, so that's a problem. Cowboys are 2-3 again going into the bye. New England now 4-0. Denver again, another sloppy win, moving to 5-0 at 5-0 nonetheless. I expected that Oakland was going to win this game. Peyton Manning 22 of 35, 266, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. C.J. Anderson 11 carries, 22 yards. Emmanuel Sanders had a good game, 9 receptions for 111 yards. No touchdowns though. There were no passing touchdowns. And the only touchdown for Denver was a Chris Harris interception. They did have 4 sacks. Recovered 2 fumbles as well. Oakland, I thought they were going to win this game. Trying to spit the bad taste out of their mouth after the loss against Chicago. Derek Carr, 26 of 39, 249 yards, a touchdown and interception. Latavius Murray, 13 carries, 39 yards, so he's pretty inconsistent. He's getting the carries, but he's more up and down. Michael Crabtree, 4 for 54. Amari Cooper held in check, 4 for 47. They lost 2 fumbles, fumbled it 3 times, lost 2 of them. Only 2 sacks. Charles Woodson did have 2 interceptions. So Denver is 5-0, but continues to play sloppy. Oakland now drops to 2-3, and they need to figure this out and try to catch Denver. So Denver's really pulling away from that division. And last but not least was the Sunday night game. Now, in this one, I have to be honest, I thought there were some really bad calls on the last drive of the game for the New York Giants. I thought that ball was an interception. I never saw it definitively hit the ground. While I thought the ball did hit the ground, I never saw it definitively happen. And I thought that there was a blatant intentional grounding Eli Manning got away with at the end of that game. Going to the stats, San Francisco, we told you they'd come out and be professional. 23 of 35, 262 yards and 2 touchdowns. Carlos Hyde, 21 of 93, 1 touchdown. Anquan Boldin, 8 of 107 for a touchdown. Colin Kaepernick fumbled twice, did not lose any of them. No sacks. The Giants didn't give up any sacks last week, so the offensive line is really gelling. Tremaine Brock did have an interception. The Giants, give them credit, they won the game. Eli Manning threw the ball 54 times, 41 completions, 441 yards, 3 touchdowns in the game winner. Rashad Jennings, 11 for 46, 4.2 yards per carry. They all together at 21 for 84, so it looks like they abandoned the run. Odell Beckham Jr., very good game, 7 receptions, 121 yards and a touchdown. Shane Vereen out of the backfield, 8 catches for 86 yards and a touchdown. Did not have any fumbles and had 2 sacks, no interceptions. So the Giants are 3-2. They're in first place. They're going to continue to move forward. They have the Eagles next week. San Francisco, again, we had said this might be the last stand, and the loss certainly is likely going to kill them for the rest of the year. So we'll see how they move on from there. So alright, that's it for the recap of yesterday's games. We're going to take just a minute here and give you a preview of tonight of the San Diego Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, so stay tuned for that.